up, guys? Blue,
Delta?
YGO Anime Games. I just want to start off saying I'm a little bit sick. I have like a cold or something, so you hear that in my voice. I apologize. Um, so obviously, going off the title, this is Zane's um, Underworld deck or Cyberdark deck, whatever you prefer. Deck profile. So we just released this deck.
Debuted in a duel where he played against Aster.
Which, yeah, so kind of a rematch from the duel that started Zane's Downward Spiral. This is a deck we actually teased like a long time ago on our Facebook. But then we started rearranging things and figured out where it would maybe be better placed. Anyway, so we had this, kind of in the works for a while. I'm really happy. I love Zane's Cyber Dragons, the Cyber Dark Dragons. I mean, the cyber style that they emphasized a little bit in the anime, that small archetype. It's pretty cool. So, brief thing about the deck from the anime. For those of you who did not watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX or it's been a while, basically, Season 2, Zane, who was this great duelist, he lost to Aster, and then he kind of starts his downward spiral of losing. He ends up in the underground duels, where everyone kind of gets, like, shock collars or devices. So when you take life point damage, you get shock electricity. This started put a lot of stress on him, and he kept losing and losing and losing, to which point he kind of broke. And his usual attitude towards games was he was respecting his opponent. He didn't really want to hurt his opponent or completely blow them away in a duel. He changed that to be more aggressive. He stopped caring, and then that's when he started winning, was when he kind of just, really just started taking a shit on them. He'd power bond his cyber end and then go from there. And the use of this deck took a toll on Zane, who at the end of Season 3, when he was Jesse while possessed by Yubel, quote, dies. He goes off to the stars, because he can't say dies in the American anime. He reappears in Season 4, kind of like everyone who, quote, died, and the Dimension World comes back through various ways, because no one really dies in an anime. So it's a composite of his Cyberdarks and the Cyber Dragons. So deck profile: Armored Cybern, Union Monster, 0-2000. So it's definitely great defense. You can also use it for its Union effect. This is one of the newer cards in the deck. It's not from his original deck, but what is Cyber Barrier Dragon. Coming back. So Attack Reflector Unit is also in this deck. He pulls out this and this counterpart, Cyber Laser Dragon, again in that dual Jesse, among other places. I'm just throwing one of them. Of course, the core of the deck is the 3 Cyber Dragons.
Classic.
This was a really big card. It was, of course, great in the anime. It also saw a lot of competitive play. So it's one of those cards where it's significant in the anime, but it does have an impact on competitive, whereas a lot of anime cards, just
It had a huge impact on competitive play.
Yeah. So this card really defined the format and also defined the GX a bit, because Zane's 3 Cyber Dragons were just...
GX's Blue Eyes White Dragons.
Yeah, a force to be reckoned with. Again, Cyber Laser, so we're still keeping with the elements from his original deck. Because, what happened was he had the original deck for a while, and then he eventually beats Chancellor Shepard, who was, Cyber Style with the Cyber Ogre monsters. He gets the Cyber Dark monsters, builds his new deck, and then,
throws in his old cards as well.
Yeah.
Cyber Ouroboros.
Or Ouroboros, as it was pronounced in the dub.
Yeah, he said it Ouroboros.
So,
pretty useful if you banish it with like Overload Fusion or something like that.
Yeah, there's actually a couple cards in this deck that will banish it. Cyber Valley, Overload Fusion. So, actually, that effect is not totally wasted in this. Again, Cyber Phoenix is back. We added 2 because you didn't have enough cards to make a complete deck, so this is one of the cards where there's duplicates that there maybe wasn't in the anime. So Cyber Phoenix, always a helpful card. It protects your machines. It has an okay defense. 1600 is not bad for, character decks, plus the draw cards. Create 2. Another new card, again, one of those cards where had a great effect in the anime, and it was, good for that, but also had doubled as a decent card in
Competitive play.
competitive.
It is 3 different effects, so it's basically a toolbox of utility for whatever you need. Pretty useful.
Yeah, I mean he made that Cyber Valley play a couple times. Again, I like the reference to with Jesse possessed by Yubel, just because Zane made a lot of plays in there, and that was his last duel, or so we were led to believe, because he kept playing it up as someone was gonna die, and Zane's like, well, if I go out, I'm having the greatest duel, and he made a lot of ridiculous plays that he just went from fusion to fusion, and just even though he lost with a 16,000 attack Cyber End Dragon because he power bonded and then used Cybernetic Zone, which I mean in regular format won't work because the power bond effect would be lost when the Cyber End is banished and returns, but the anime it's okay. So actually, that play we had with the Chimera attack
In that Zane Aster duel.
was by anime rules it actually works.
Check out the Zane Aster duel.
So here we start the Cyberdarks. Now, all 3 of these Cyberdark monsters, Edge, Keel, and Horn,
Are errata to match their anime effects because you cannot grab Infernal Dragon with them, with the way they're imprinted in the TCG.
yeah, so again, I mean, it's not that we're a big fan of having to change card effects, but I guess in Konami's attempt to try to make it, quote, not OP, which it really wouldn't have been anyway,
Yeah,
they made it take level 3s. Zane's deck had Infernal Dragon as well, which is level 4, so the anime effect said take up to level 4. We stuck with that to make it work the same. So, again, this was his newer monster, so we want to emphasize it and fill the deck. So there's 2 of each of
them.
Each one with a different effect of what happens when they pull a dragon from the grave. They all have the same stats, so 800, 800 for all of them. But again, what they do with that monster they pull back varies. And there's the last one. Cyberdark Keel. They're pretty cool monsters. I like them personally. They're really interesting in how they vary in appearance, not just the effect, because the effects are...
Keel is definitely the worst effect hands down.
Yeah.
It's just not... 300. I
mean... It's probably one of the coolest looking, in my opinion.
Piercing and Edge's attack directly. You can definitely steal games with those. Especially because these monsters are so easy to get up to like 2000 attack. Basically, like once you get Infernal Dragon in the graveyard, every single Cyberdark you draw is a level 4 summonable 2800 attack monster, which is pretty good. Actually, maybe they would have been broken if you could grab level 4s. There's a lot of powerful level 4 dragon type monsters.
Yeah, I know. Konami keeps making...
But, I mean, character tools, it's fine that they become 2800 attack monsters.
Yeah. And again, now continuing with his... the Cyberdark engine, or element really, was the Exploder Dragon. So his deck actually is now a combination of machines and dragons because the new machines obviously are designed to work with dragons. So Exploder Dragon, really cool, a little personal favorite of mine. It's similar to Rocket Warrior, except instead of reducing by 500 attack points, it kills it. So,
so better than Rocket Warrior.
Yeah, a little more aggressive there. And next up is, like we just said, Infernal Dragon. Basically, 2000 attack, 0, 4 stars. If it attacks, it's destroyed during the end phase, and you contribute a monster to bring it back from the grave. Kind of, if that effect happens simultaneously, you pretty much distribute a monster to keep it on the field. But yeah. And, if you work with him, great. Although you really want him for the Cyberdarks. Alright, and the last monster card, again, doubled to build the deck, is Proto Cyber Dragon. So, another one from the old deck, another, Cyber Dragon related monster. As opposed to, say, like, Phoenix, which is, Cyber style, the Cyber archetype, but the difference being it's not Cyber Dragon. It doesn't make Cyber Dragon. It doesn't sound like Cyber Dragon. It's not made from Cyber Dragon.
He would use like Cyber Proto to just get extra Cyber Dragon summons. Because, for example, you can easily just Polymerization or Power Bond into Cyber End using all 3 Cyber Dragons if you have them in your hand. And then summon Proto Cyber to make Chimera Tech.
Yeah, I mean, just it really
Abuses the Cyber Dragon fusions.
yeah. Although of course, Chimera Tech blows up the field, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, only in the same turn.
Yeah. So, spell cards. And before we start, I want to quickly address something that was in our comments. Some of you were asking in our duel, Zane vs. Aster, where Mystical Space Typhoon was. And, it's a fair question, so it's fine. Mystical Space Typhoon was played in his Cyber Dragon deck, and he never played it in the Cyberdark deck. And there were definitely opportunities to play in the anime. I say that meaning they would have written in, obviously, it's not like there were any real kind of duels in the anime. They was all just scripted however they want it to be. So we didn't add it, because generally we add cards that were played as opposed to cards that weren't played, so we doubled up some things instead of putting it. So it's not in here. We had no plans to put it in here. That aside, so start spells. Cybernetic Fusion Support. A newish card, which is great because now we can add it in the deck. Not a card I saw very often when I was playing the deck, but pretty much kind of just it'll count itself for all the fusion materials you need. So it's a great way because, again, like Zane's deck, like a lot of decks in GX were very fusion based. That's where the Trump monsters were. Supposed to the original anime where the Trumps were in their decks. Some of them did have fusions. I'm not saying no one had fusions, but Yugi's Trump was Dark Magician, and then really when he needed, he pulled out Dark Paladin. But Dark Magician fusions. I mean, it was different though, of course, in the Waking the Dragons arc, where the Legendary Dragon fusions were the main thing. But that aside, so another fusion support card. Great for these decks. Cybernetic Zone, as we mentioned before. So you banish a fusion, it returns on your opponent's turn, doubly attack, you destroy in your standby phase. I mean, it really doesn't have a lot of use except that it'll at least give you a wall for one turn. So if you were to lose your monster on your turn, you can have it come back, doubly attack, and then your turn again. You lose it, but you maybe bought yourself a turn. It also was there to help make Zane, again, that 16,000 attacks ever end because he wanted to go out, the very least, saying, making the statement of this is who he was, what he was capable of, and that was his thing right there. Was the Cyber End and something dramatic in the anime. Oldie but a goodie, Diffusion.
Great removal for an opponent's fusion monster.
Yeah. Different Dimension Capsule.
Classic Zane card.
Not as good as Gold Sarcophagus, but Flash Fusion.
Not as good as every other fusion card.
But again, a lot of his spells are fusion based because, I mean, at least Jaden had combos with his E-Heroes. He'd have quips and whatnot, but Zane really focused a lot on his fusions. Again, Future Fusion. Really, really great card because, I mean, you rip fusion material monsters from your graveyard, from your deck, just send them to the graveyard. This card has to be on the field for 2 turns. You get your monster, but what's great is you drop this with Overload Fusion, and now, I mean, assuming you had both of them, this card gets them in your grave. Also helps deck thin, in case you don't really want to draw the Cyber Barrier, Cyber Laser. You'll watch our duels. That's always what we try to discard with it, because they'll count towards Chimera Attack, and no one really wants to draw them, because they very rarely help out. Graceful Charity, nothing to say about that. Megamorph. So again, a couple cards in his deck that will double attack, actually. All his attack boosters are double attack.
He has a lot of double attack.
So it's Cybernetic Zone or
Maybe
Megamorph.
You can get a crazy 20,000 attack monster sometime. Maybe. Just maybe.
Again, the aforementioned Overload Fusion only makes a Dark Machine type. Basically, Chimera Attack over Dragon. And because that's just any machine type plus, Cyber Dragon, it's just one of the easiest things to make, and it can be busted as hell. So, again, the Photon Generator unit for the Cyber Laser, there's 2 in his original deck, I believe. We cut that down to 1, again, to emphasize the newer monsters. We wanted to focus more on the Cyber Darks.
And cards he just played already.
Yeah. Polymerization.
Classic fusion card.
Pot of Greed.
No explanation.
I mean, just, the standard. That, like, everybody ever had.
Especially if you've been with us for a while. You've seen dozens of deck profiles with Pot of Greed, Monster Born, Polymerization. They never...
I mean, everyone in the world knows what Pot of Greed is.
People who don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Know what Pot of Greed is.
I mean, Power Bond, again, that was one of his trump cards going back to the original deck was, double attack of fusion. And, of course, it had life point cost, the original attack of the monster, and in the case of Cyber N, that was 4,000. And hey, that's the amount of life points that they started with. So Zane only ever played that card when he would win, so that he'd never lose from the drawback. He had a thing with Cyrus because Cyrus was going to play it. Zane said stop because, Cyrus would have lost because of the drawback of the effect. Cyrus never played it for a while. One day he decided to get it.
With it. Jane slipped into his deck, and Cyrus was like, I'm not ready for it.
Speaking of, I want to quickly interject. Again, I know you guys rolling your eyes at me. Season 4, Zane duels. Zane collapses because of his heart condition, which originally thought to be from his underground duels and the electric shocks, is actually from the Cyberdark deck itself. Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic. The deck is hurting him. Blah, blah, blah. So Cyrus takes his deck, combines it with his own, and then Cyrus has his Cyberdark Roid deck. Some of you have asked for this deck. It's something we've considered. The problem is he's missing 2 cards. One is the Dragon Roid, which is a Roid archetype, obviously, but counts as a dragon in the graveyard for Cyberdarks. And then there was a card, now I can't remember the name of it, like Rebirth Judgment or something. It was DNA Surgery in the graveyard. So again, his deck had 2 cards that made the Cyberdarks work. Without those 2 cards, and without, adding in a substitute, dragon-type monster like Dragonroid, the deck doesn't work. Because you have Roids, you have Cyberdarks, you have no targets for the Cyberdarks. It's a deck we'd like to do, but until those cards come out, we don't really have any plans to make it. Because it's missing the glue that holds it together. Those 2 cards are really, really critical for the deck. Fun fact, Season 4 was never dubbed. So if you watch dub, it ends at Season 3. Season 4 is only in the original sub. I don't know why they didn't dub it. It's a shame.
Could have used more GX, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, returning to our deck profile instead of, story time. Attack Reflector unit. Again, the trap card for Cyber Barrier.
Not much more needs to really be said.
Yeah, it's, Barrier's not bad because, it only needs 1 Cyber Dragon as opposed to...
Photon Generator, which needs 2.
Yeah. But the problem is, to get his effect, it has to be in attack mode, and with like 800 attack, it's just not worth it when he has 2800 defense. I don't know why they made a defense, style monster that has an effect that works in attack mode. It's like, really?
Yeah, it works on 1 attack. It's almost never better to just have an attack than defense.
Because I guess the cards Konami thought that, we shouldn't make it too powerful. It's like, well, it wasn't, and now it just sucks.
AKA every card they ever give us from the anime. Oh, we can't make it too powerful.
I mean, I think it was that way in the anime, though, still. So it's not even like, I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
Anyway, Call of the Haunted.
What more needs to be said?
Cybernetic hidden technology. So
this one's cool.
You tribute a Cyber Dragon or a Cyber Dragon, or a fusion with Cyber Dragon, and its Sakura armor just destroys it. So, I mean, obviously it's not a card you're going to just throw around here and there. It costs you a Cyber Dragon or a Cyber Dragon fusion. So if you're tripping a Cyber Dragon fusion to destroy an opponent's monster when it attacks, it must be, like, either game or hella OP. And a fusion guard. So you toss the fusion and you protect yourself from damage. So it's alright. It's not random though, so you can toss like the one you want the most and keep the crap. And now the moment some of you have been waiting for is the fusions. Zane's big boss, Cyber Dragon fusions, or Cyberdarks. He has 7 fusions in total, 5 of which are Cyber Dragon / Cyberdark. Okay, it's 4 Cyber Dragons and then 1 Cyberdark. So, first up, the new one for the Underworld deck is Cyberdark Fortress Dragon. Again, actually saw a lot of competitive play because it needs a Cyber Dragon, and then you contact fuse with any number of machines on the field. Not your field, the field. So if you have DNA surgery, you can take all your opponent's machines, and you are an a-hole because you just dropped a boss monster, and they can't do anything about it. And it's like Chimera Attack, that gains attack per monster, but this is 1,000 attack. Although in the anime, when Zane plays it, it actually does not get the attack. It inflicts battle damage. It's a small amount. I think it was 400, but it was up to the number of times. And the number of times is equal to the number of machines he used. So I don't know. Completely different effect. Right now we didn't errata it. We're gonna go with the regular effect. Maybe down the road we change our minds, but right now we want to stick with the original effect. Yeah, so it's just really weird that it's like, again, you see in the game with Jesse, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna hit you 400 damage equal to like 5 times. 4 or 5. So getting back to the original Chimera Attack, yeah, this one goes back to the first stack. It's one of my favorites. I always thought it was so cool. It's like Cyber Dragon, Cyber End on steroids, because you just get, unlimited number of heads. Well, not truly unlimited, you know what I mean. Cyber End Dragon. We used the darker art for this one. Not that it really mattered, but we liked, just thought it was kind of cool to use the darker art. It does not matter really, but we just, went that way. So his good old Cyber Dragon or Cybernetic one of my favorite cards. I loved when Cybernetic Revolution came out. It was such a cool pack.
A great pack.
And then going down is Cyber Twin. So he can make it with 3. He can make it with 2. He can also make it with a lot. Interestingly enough, again, like we mentioned, the Cyber Dragons were kind of like the blue eyes of the GX.
But Cabin never got a fusion for 2 blue eyes.
Right. They now have a blue eyes with 2 fusions, because now with all the blue eyes support, they're making all kinds of fusions. But and then Twin just gets 2 attacks. So it's interesting, the way they balanced. So Cyberdark Dragon,
the big daddy,
with a whole 1,000 attack, 1,000 defense. So it's just 200 more than his pieces. But he gets he takes the dragon from the graveyard as well, and it can be any level, and he gets attack points for each monster in the graveyard. So
in the anime, they actually gave him multiple different effects. It would change throughout the anime. 100 for each monster in his graveyard, 100 for each card in his graveyard. One point he said 100 for each dragon in his graveyard.
So it kind of...
The anime is weird.
Yeah, we're going with the printed effect, because that's what I think they ended up on.
Yeah, that was like the later anime effect.
So yeah, it's the 100 booster for each, plus any level dragon, which again, you can take Chimera Attack. I'm sorry, you can take Infernal Dragon, Explorer Dragon. Also, in the duel I power bonded it, and if you power bond this, it doubles its original attack, which is 1,000, and you take damage equal to the original attack, which is 1,000. So you get 2,000, and if you take Infernal Dragon, it's now 4,000, and then its effect gives it X number of attack points more, but at the end, you just lose 1,000. So it's kind of a not bad way around it. You can get a 4,000 attack monster, or 400,000 plus, and not have this huge life point cost. And then 2 monsters that were shown but not really played because he can't make either of them is 5-headed dragon and twin-headed thunder dragon.
They were shown when he played Fusion Guard, and it makes sense to include them because they could be discarded for Fusion Guard instead of something valuable like Cyber End or Cyber Twin. So it would make sense that they'd be in his fusion deck.
Yeah, so basically he could have some strong attack dragon type monsters that didn't clog up his deck, and with Fusion Guard, it's a way to get them into the graveyard without having to obviously summon them because there's no Thunder Dragons, and we gave him twice the amount of dragons, and we did not want to give him a third one to make five-headed dragon. We specifically said no, we're not giving him a third of one of them, so
Yeah.
have 5 total, because that's just
Then you can make 5-guy dragon, but it doesn't seem like in the anime he had any way to make it.
so it seems that they were just there. Fusion Guard, Cyberdark Dragon pulls them out, and again, just that monster can do a lot of damage. Anyway, so
There it is, guys.
that's Zane's Underworld deck. Is what it's listed as usually. Although it's a Cyberdark Dragon deck. That's what the core kind of thing was. Well, there was a mix of Cyberdark and Cyberdark. Hey, thanks for bearing with me. I know my voice is a little off because again, I'm sick with something or other. I don't know. It's a cold or something. Whatever. Don't forget for anyone still watching, don't forget check out our deck expo video. I know we've been kind of mentioning that a lot, but it's really cool. We put a lot of work into the editing because it's got some slides. It's got some music that we actually were really happy with. And we just announced a lot of decks coming out over the course of the next year. So we name a lot of waves, a lot of decks, so you guys can get a really good look at what will be coming. And if what you're looking for is not specifically mentioned, we'll allude to it. So, one way or another, you should answer some questions. We really want to push out to you guys. Say, here's what's coming out. Here's what you can expect. There's dates, so you know what day the first duel, the first debut duel is going to drop. And then from there, you'll get a mix of deck profiles and duels.
Also, guys, we just hit 3,000 subscribers, so we're doing a giveaway. That giveaway will end in a few days, so check it out. And you have a chance of winning a Yusei Fudo deck. So that's pretty cool.
Again, check the date of this video in case anyone's watching this like
2
months
later.
Yeah, and you say, oh, hey, I want to join the giveaway. It's like, yeah, it's long gone. Sorry,
Yeah,
buddy.
but we'll have a link to that video, so check that out. Thanks, guys.
So, as always, thanks. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. The channel's growing every day, and we're so excited. So, with that, look forward to the next video from the GX wave. It will be Sartorius versus Jaden. It should be really exciting. All right, see you guys.